What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Insurance Isn't Boring. This is episode 2020. So we're one episode away from breaking the statistic. Most podcasts don't even make it to 21 episodes. But I'm Elijah, host, joined as always by the mustache flexing Xander Wolle. We got a cool guest today. First scientist that we've ever had on. Scientist turned insurance agent. Christopher Clark in the flesh. Looking suave as always. How are you gentlemen doing today?
I am mustacheless, and insecure because of it. So that's
You'll
that's
have
how
one.
I
You'll
am.
have one in about 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm
Just
gonna
got to
just go
water
buy
it
one.
twice daily.
Gonna get some Miracle Grow.
How about you, Xander?
Dude, like I mean, I feel like I say this pretty often, but I would probably be dead if I was doing much better. So
I
life is
think you
good.
said that last Friday. Fantastic. We're going to dig into a couple things. We're going to interview Chris, a little bit of street cred just to give you people another reason to listen. Appreciate all the people tuning in. Every week, I feel like we just get a few more subscribers and our views are up, which is awesome. Um, but Chris Clark, Senior Vice President with Symmetry Financial Group, huge agency. He's at the top contract level in our company, 130, and we're going to dig into his journey to get there. Um, he's got over 100 writers. Is that right?
It kind of depends upon how you put it. On the month, that's right around where we end up. If we want to do monthly numbers, I can say yeah, 100. But sure, yeah, I'll let you say that. Okay.
Yeah, 100 writers on the month. Would your team sell Do you know what your team sold last year, Chris?
Oh, last year, I can pull it up. I have a trophy right here.
Couple million.
4.7 million last year. Uh,
Jeez. That's pretty
um,
good. What did the team do
Incredible.
last week?
214, 229 and 92 cents. So I think we
Good night.
can very close to double what we did last year. Which we
Wait,
can get
wait.
into that.
That was a month? You guys did 214,000 last month? Holy Moses. God
Just to put that in
dang.
perspective, I've been hard at work building a team so far this year. This year, my team has done 230,000, and Mr. Clark here is doing that in a week. That is just insane. Sounds like Monopoly money
Mm,
numbers.
It
it
gets
really
there. Yeah.
does. Xander, what'd you sell so far this week, man?
$86.08 in APV.
Not too shabby. I'm at 7 policies for just shy of 12 grand, 11,960 bucks in premium.
I did an app split. Do I get to count? Do I get to count
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Okay. I
What'd
did
you
an
do,
app.
buddy?
I did an app split, and I got split in for $1,312.87.
That's pretty
So
cool. That's
yeah,
pretty
Pretty
I
solid,
cool.
get.
especially at 130.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the beauty of being around here for a while. You get
It
paid more for doing
approved.
the same work.
I mean, it approved
Yeah.
right away. Like I saw it. I'm like, I'll take that.
That's awesome. So, Chris, you're a master builder, extremely effective producer. You don't have to produce as much because you got an army of people rallied behind you, absolutely kicking tail. But we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff while we have you. And Xander and I will pass it back and forth. But the first thing I wanted to dig into, man, because we've got a few different guests that have been on. You are the third 130 that we've had on.
Nice.
Edward Pritchett was one, and Mark Neubauer was the other. And I'm curious, man, what was the journey to 130 like? How long did it take? Give us the highs and
Yeah.
lows. Like, what was that trek like, man, to the top of the summit?
But that's cool. First of all, I want to edify you all for being 20 episodes in and having three 130s. Like there are 50 total. And so that's an explicit endorsement of the quality, but also not of the podcast, but of the reputation that you all have. So let me recognize that. I don't know,
Appreciate it.
what did Edward say? I want to copy what did Neubauer say? Um,
We didn't ask him this question,
Oh,
actually,
well,
that I
crap.
remember.
Okay.
It took about 5 years. I would have to remember, like, I am much more of a big picture guy. I'm not sentimental in the way like where Omar Diaz, which we can talk about him later, is like deeply sentimental, and he'll be like, "It was May 14th," and I'll be like, "I okay." Uh, I was about 5 years in. It was difficult. I will not pretend it wasn't. But I getting, a little off track right away. Like I don't have an issue with hard work. I don't have an issue with like difficult things. I just want to know that the work will be worth it on the other side of it. And a lot of what I was doing was based upon faith on what I was seeing and people ahead of me. And then, I'm very fortunate to share an office with Brad Smith. And all I knew is that his life looked better than mine. Right, and it's not just money. I mean, he was just happier. The relationships were better. How he carried himself, the kind of the earned confidence that he had in himself looked better than what I had. And so I just was like, I don't have to live the exact same life that he's living. I'll figure out what I want on the in between as I climb this. But the journey was difficult, and then to speak about Brad, actually in my final month of my 130 run, Brad's twin brother, Matt Smith, passed away. I had
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had 3 weeks of 130 run left. And that was also when Symmetry
Gosh.
was doing they used to do those calls on Mondays, right? And I was scheduled to do it. And so he passed away on a Thursday, and I had to like get on a Monday and talk about it and rally the team. And it was what you don't get a lot of moments in life to explicitly endorse someone. You don't get a lot of moments in life to show up for someone. You don't get a lot of moments that are like, I mean, you get a lot of small moments where it's like, all right, let's see what you're made of. You'll get some of those, right? Um, but there are some where it's just like, all right, here we go. Here is the actual pop quiz. And I just knew that I wanted to be proud of myself and how I portrayed this. And I knew I wanted to honor him, and so we got it across the finish line. We did the deal, we got it done, and it was just one of those things that you can do to just say thank you. And
Right.
so we did it.
Wow.
That's wild timing.
It was.
Yeah, with what you're saying though, I listen to a lot of Alex Hormozy stuff, and I love the entrepreneur, that's a new word I've been using, aspect of Symmetry. Like I've talked about it on here before. I had a small cleaning company before coming to Symmetry. Well, as I had a day job, and I had no clue what to do next. And that was like the biggest bottleneck for me is like you, I'm not afraid of hard work. In fact, I like hard work. I know good things require hard work, but I didn't know where to go next. And even still, one of Hormozy's famous sayings is like, however hard you think it's going to be, it's probably going to be harder, and it's probably going to take longer. And I am just my biggest curiosity is, you're a top producer, AO of the year 2018. What did that balance look like? Because Mark always tells me you got to get out of balance to get into balance. How did you balance as you're starting to, right? You start out as a producer, right? All your time is figuring out how the heck do I talk to people about dying? Then, hey, give me your social security number. I need your banking info. And then all of a sudden that you can spend a little bit less time on that because you get better at it, right? What used to take you 60 to 80 hours a week suddenly only takes 30 to 40. And then you're coaching up other people to do the same, and you're balancing teaching them skills, getting their headspace right. Sometimes you're a little bit of a therapist, sometimes you're a shoulder to lean on. Like, how did that balance look? Because that just being vulnerable, that's been the biggest challenge I've had as I'm in the middle of my AO run is like, I got to put my own oxygen mask on first, but I also recognize some of these other people, they're fumbling around with the straps. How did you think about that, and how'd you balance it?
Yeah, let's take it and let's just do a public coaching session with just you and I, and I'll be the um like the reciprocal example here. I'll talk about myself, but I'm really talking at you, Xander. Um, what I wish someone would have told me at that point in time is that it's probably not as hard as it is just new. And I think that's a really important thing to understand. It's I'm not saying new things can't be hard, but what is hard is not doing it. What is hard is giving up and living with that for the rest of your life. What is hard is knowing that when you look in the mirror, you have to like, I didn't do the right thing. I didn't earn this. I'm obsessed with earning things, earning a healthy body, earning a healthy mind, earning a happy family, a healthy relationship with my spouse, with my kids, right? Like I'm obsessed with earning things, but that also means that I can't take shortcuts and I just have to live with myself in those moments. And so, Xander, like, I don't view it as much as like imbalanced and out of balance because what when we talk about like work life balance and we talk about balance, I think people hear it as like a partitioning or as a separation, right? If we're going to do the Venn diagram, right? It's like they don't overlap. Balancing doesn't like they don't overlap. We want integration and we want a harmonious integration. We want both at the same time, but we want some healthy boundaries where some of the stuff exists outside of it, some of this stuff doesn't bleed in, but understanding that in a healthy culture, in a healthy system, in a healthy life, there is diffusiveness, there is overlap, and that's okay. So yeah, maybe for like simplified understanding, you have to get out of balance before you get imbalanced. But what I would really say is like being mindful with yourself of like, hey, maybe you're not imbalanced, maybe you're not out of balance, maybe you're on a path to becoming decent at this skill that is a component of your job. We're going to take you around an apprenticeship square, right? You go from unconsciously incompetent, you're just excited to be here, to oh my God, I'm not good at this, like very consciously incompetent immediately. And some of these things that we can do is just having a conversation where someone can be like, yeah, man, me too. I was exactly there. This is how I got through it. And we give them time. We literally just give them the conversation, right? We give them the one on one time. We maybe tell them it might take 2 weeks. Also, we give them that vision of this is what it's going to be like on the other side. And then we give them energy. And again, a lot of energy is not only what we say, but how we say it, how we show up, how we posture ourselves to get people to a level of competency where they maybe still have to think about it. Right? My wife is very good at tennis. She tries to explain to me how to like put
Top
the
spin.
top spin on the ball. And I can do it, but I have to really think about it. I have a conscious competency. And she's like talking on speakerphone on her phone, just like, right?
Effortless.
Yeah, she is unconsciously competent. She doesn't have to think about it. So, Xander, to answer your question with all that, it just comes with time, bud. It's accumulation of skills and that awareness that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Doesn't mean you like where you are. It just means you're exactly where you're supposed to be based upon time and your accumulation of skills. If you don't like where you are, then be the scientist about it, right? Like work, be the Buddhist scientist about it. Get zen with yourself, get in your mind, get mindful about what it is that you're actually thinking, and then break it down and like, okay, the skill that I think that I struggle with is I struggle tying down appointments, or I struggle offering challenge in a support challenge matrix with how I speak to my agents because I understand it's not support or challenge, it's support and challenge. The
Right.
intensity of one or the other might vary, but they coexist.
Mm.
This man
That is-
studied some Brian Williamson, that's for sure.
Oh, that's my
yeah.
dog. That's my adopted uncle. That's yeah. He's
He's my adopted uncle too, man. Does that
yeah.
make us cousins?
That does. It does. Yeah, he is yeah, you're my primo. He is legitimately like he's like family to us. He's a great human being.
One of my favorite people. We're gonna have to, Xander.
Absolutely.
We're gonna have to. I might have to text him and see if we could get him on as a guest. That would be a fire episode. Um, I kind of skipped over this. I meant to kind of get some info on your background because you got a really unique background, Chris. You're an actual scientist with a PhD who somehow,
We quit before, almost. We're about a year and a
oh,
half from it. Yeah,
okay, you
yeah,
still got more schooling than most of the people.
too
Edward
much,
might have you beat. You got a lot of schooling,
too much.
and you somehow wound up in insurance, man. So what were you doing before insurance? Medical background. Like, tell us a little bit about that and how the heck did you end up doing insurance with that on your resume, man?
So they're looking in my office door right now, which is like frosted glass. I think they're trying to distract me, but um,
Putting their butt cheeks up on the
yeah,
window.
yeah. But actually on my frosted glass door it says Christopher H. Clark, resident philosopher. It doesn't say, senior vice president. Like, so my formal education, I have a bachelor's in philosophy, a bachelor's in biology, and then I worked in an PhD candidacy program where I was doing genomics, bioinformatics, more specifically like cytokine research, and even more specifically, immunological response to foreign body sensors and plants, stuff like that. So I came from a very much a rigorous science background. Long story, very short. I value truth and in the pursuit of it. Right. And so that's why philosophy blends in together is it's that's a chase of the truth, sometimes very abstracted to get to it. And then, relying upon science, like also a pursuit of truth. And um that's what they did. I'm 40, 41. That's what they did with smart kids back then is you should be a doctor, right? That's just what they told us, right? Now they might be like you should be a tech entrepreneur. I don't know what. But and I liked it because I knew I was doing something good for people. I'm the oldest of four, single mother, also worked in medicine, but had very explicit medical issues herself. And I watched her do the bravest thing that she'd ever done. Um, and that's a whole separate podcast episode. Not a great childhood, just flatly not a great childhood. But the one thing that I respected her for the most was she went to medical school when I was like 14. So roughly around my age, she went to medical school. And so whenever she's getting out and starting her residency in women's health, she gets diagnosed with cancer. And all of her time and energy and all that stuff was just all the money was spent and she had to drop it. And so I
Wow.
knew that families were drastically affected by medical issues, but what also, and this is how I segue into this, she also didn't have appropriate financial planning, like at all. She didn't have any life insurance. She didn't have any disability insurance. She didn't have any living benefits. She didn't have a fiduciary or a financial planner. She just kind of just going through it. And so when I'm in the lab and I'm miserable, and every stereotype that people have around laboratory scientists, I'm just going to let you know is absolutely true. Um, it is a bunch of angry nerds that don't talk to each other. If you watch like the news and they like have the pipettes and they're moving the pink thing into another pink thing, that's real. Like I actually did that, right? Where I'd actually have the pipette and like, the whole thing. That's true. That's actually what we do. I was miserable. I'm way too extroverted. I'm way too motivated to do other things outside of that. And just kind of, candidly, like wasn't the best student, was much more like, what's next? And so that was my backdoor way to get into medical was to work through the lab and do PhD into MD, not, the other way around. But it was terrible. And was at a bachelor party, and one of my friends was like, "You should do." He's like, "How's work?" And I was like, "It sucks." And he's like, "You should do what I do." And I was like, "I don't know what you do." And then another one of my friends was like, "You should do what I do." And so I went through this whole being groomed to join McKinsey, took the test, Bain and all those things. And then the other one was like, he's a wealth management advisor at another company that I won't name. And met with them, was literally interviewed by third place at Miss America, which is a great recruiting technique. And I was like, I like this company. And
I want to work here.
she's smart too. She would be very annoyed if that's how I described her. Very smart, has a law degree, very driven, competent woman, good human being. But y- y- she recruited me, and I liked the idea of what I was doing. Hated that company's culture. Um, in the very little time that I had there, we had our twin daughters, um, and they're the best. My wife, had a tough pregnancy. I took my paternity leave, and they really showed their true colors, with that. And I was like, I have to get out of here. And so started interviewing at other places. They found out I was interviewing at other places. I kind of got Jerry Maguired, if you're familiar with that reference, and they're just like, you don't work here anymore. We're gonna say you did this. And yeah, the universe kind of worked in a mysterious way where I'm in the middle of the worst time of my life. My hands were shaking, my eyelids would twitch. I was treated like a criminal. There was no, innocent until presumed guilty. It was guilty, prove your innocence.
Mm.
I get a phone call, I get a text message from a client, "Are you still at this company?" I said, "Interesting you say that." They said, "Okay, we're gonna drop our policy then. Some other guy is gonna get us a better deal. He also used to work at that company. He wants to call you and see if you wanna work for him." And I said, "That guy can kiss my ass." And he sure enough still called me, and here we are with Symmetry now.
Wow.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah.
Goodness. So you've been here now how long? When'd you get
8.5 years. Like
Okay.
I still had to like close out that case, just so you guys know, beat the case. Me and Snoop Dogg, murder was the case that they gave me. I beat the rep,
Beat the charges.
beat the charges, walked away scot free. Gave them, a cold one in their back. But yeah, dude, it was a wild time. It was
Goodness.
so bad that there was a point in time where and again, what we own owns us, right? Like, I had this really nice Italian bicycle, hand built, super bougie, like, just wild, expensive bicycle. And I had to sell it, and it disgusted me to sell it to buy leads. And I went all in on buying these leads. And at the same point in time, literally couldn't afford to buy like diapers for our children. And as a very stereotypically clean cut white dude, you get a lot of benefit of the doubt. And so I remember going to the Walmart in the not great part of town, wearing a suit that was, again, probably $1,000 suit, pretending to talk on the phone, putting diapers in my shopping cart, and walking out the front door without paying, stealing diapers because I couldn't work because of what the other company was doing. And like, that was like the first week that I was able to work and buy leads and do all those things. And I remember Brad said, he's like, I hate this, but I would buy leads. And yeah, I probably spent $700 on leads, and probably I was bad at it. Probably made 3,000 at that point in time, which was nuts to us. It didn't even get our bank account back to like level, but it was like that was what we had to do. That's where it came from. So any of the Symmetry people that are like, I came in so broke, I don't know. I might win coming in most broke. Like, I'm just saying, maybe. You
Mm.
might have it.
So you didn't start this with money and experience and smooth background. I mean, you were digging yourself out of a hole from a place of adversity and being burnt.
There is a real explicit value to that, because I didn't get to equivocate. I didn't get to, you know, debate or quibble on some of these things. It's like I had to get to work. I think I wrote 3 apps my first day. Like, I was like on it
Wow.
because I had to. Now, of course, again, being stupid, right? Like, I wrote like overfunded IULs with NLG, and like at a 60% contract, and then was pissed that I didn't get paid this, and someone wanted it on the apps, but and it was a whole thing. But I thought I was going to make like $11,000. Like I thought it was saved, and I made like I think I said like I made like 3,000 on those leads, and I think I made like 3,000 on the apps, but that took 45 days to issue, and um, but I mean
Shout
I
out to
can't.
NLG.
Shout out to NLG. Yeah, thank you, Jim Savoy. Um, yeah, it was hard in a very unique way that I don't wish upon people, but I'm grateful for.
Yeah, I was talking to one of my agents. He's been around a little while. He was actually one of my really good friends in college, but my little brother in my fraternity. And he said to me he's currently at a wedding in St. Bart's. He used to work for a traditional W-2 company. Yeah, his it's one of his friends. And he said to me yesterday, he was like, I would rather go broke working for myself than ever work for someone else again in my life. And that really hit home because I take a lot of the things that we have here for granted because I haven't even been here that long, but I'm going on a trip with a couple of my buddies in about a month, and they're all talking about I had to beg my boss for the PTO for this. I'm like, PTO? Never heard of her, right? Like I forgot that even existed. Um, and so that freedom has been crazy to me. But I was doing some research on you before we got on here, and I heard you talking about jumping right into advanced markets at the beginning, which I made a similar pivot about. I was like 6 to 8 months in. I was writing a bunch of Americo, simplify, easy solve IULs, mutual of Omaha, and I was like, man, these are cool. Like, I didn't understand them when I was doing that. Like, just being honest with you guys. And then I pivoted completely to advanced markets. And what you just said with NLG taking 45 days resonated because you get paid less on, it's target. It's not what they're paying each month. It's on a target, like a differently calculated number that they don't seem to give you the calculation on. That's just, it is what it is. Your commission is lower, takes forever to underwrite. People will lie to you more. They think they've beaten the insurance company and like they're going to pull all this money out immediately. I liked it because I felt like I was a financial professional. I'm setting you up for retirement. And that was my ego getting in my way right at the beginning. I'm curious, did you end up making a pivot back to, hey, the simple stuff, simplified issue mortgage protection? And just what did that entire thing look like? Because I think that's kind of like the shiny object when you come in, right? Like selling life insurance. We talked about this earlier, right? The oversized J.C. Penney suit, right? Gold tooth and a briefcase. Like that's what everyone thinks. So we want to get away from that. But that's, in my opinion, kind of, I love serving. That's typically middle America, right? Don't have a ton of retirement, don't really understand this stuff. And we're truly there to serve them. And I was going away from that to do something that I thought was flashier, cooler. And I'm just kind of curious about how you thought about that.
100%. 100%. It served my ego. Um, the other company is I can see their sign when I pull in to like I can see the building when I pull into this office. And I know for a fact that I have more agents that I help protect more families that rewrite more premium than they do, that office. Um, I know for a fact that my average person makes more than the average person there, but they wear suits to work, and the parking lot's full of Lexus and Mercedes, and um, I also know for a fact that they have a higher percentage of dudes who are cheating on their wife also than we do, and just stuff like that. Um, so it's prestige is a thing that is a very seductive aspect for people. I talked about this on a call a couple months ago, right? Like I can't remember what they are, but there's like 7 motivations for human beings, like base core motivations. And it kind of correlates to like Maslow's hierarchy of needs and prestige and recognition, and like the 5 love languages, right? Like my first love language is words of affirmation. You say something sincerely nice about me to me, oh my goodness, thank you, right? Like a little like, hey, cool, good job, like that's whatever. But like if you pull me aside and say like, oh, that's fuel for me for 6 months.
Me
Um,
too, dude.
yeah,
Big words of affirmation guy.
yeah, and so when I was wanting to do these advanced market things, it was me trying to fill a hole in my ego and my heart through maybe an improper vehicle because it made me feel cool. And back to just two things of what you said, right? Around like, these advanced market products take forever. I'll say for now, right? Like we
You're getting
we
better.
well, no, we've got,
We got something in the works.
we've got quality products that are coming on platform. We are currently the number one provider of digital insurance products in the North American hemisphere. Like we are crushing it. It's gonna just get better. Pathfinder is out there. Like just it gets better. So we'll have IULs that will be instantaneous decision, so they get faster. But I had just shout out my boy Mike Resma for that. I have to recognize him. But the other thing though around like words of affirmation is I was at that directs retreat um week ago, and Edward, unprovoked, unsolicited, pulled me aside, said something to me that was maybe the nicest thing or top 10 nicest things anyone said to me since I've been with Symmetry. And it's still, and he was very sincere. He didn't you know, he didn't talk, but for more than maybe 10 seconds. But like the thought that he put into saying it, like fills me up. And so, Xander, to say this to you and to say this to Elijah, like both of you all are doing a good job. And I know that it maybe doesn't always feel like it, but you have a podcast, you are building agencies, you are young men, you are high quality character, and you're leading by example. And really, I feel that the most important aspect of what we do, and I don't just mean selling insurance, I mean we as people on this earth, is to build good character and then express it through our actions. You guys are doing a good job of that. So just wanted to like
Appreciate
pause right
that.
there and say that.
Thank you, dude.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. So you've had a tumultuous journey. Obviously, it's not still tumultuous. I mean, you were kicking it with your wife Kylie out in Taormina, Italy,
Mhm.
where season 2 of White Lotus, which was a wild season, by the
We
way,
haven't
was filmed.
finished it because it stresses it out so much. So
It is a
don't.
stressful show. I won't say nothing about it.
I think we have 2 episodes left. Don't tell me anything. But we were
Okay.
It's good.
we were literally there. As a side note, 4 seasons is dope. 4 seasons is lit. It's the coolest thing ever. Um, Walking in, yeah, it's real. That's where it is.
Mm.
We even
From
actually
poverty to 4 seasons, dude,
I
thanks
went
to insurance.
literally. I've been to 3 4 seasons in the last 6 months. 3 4 seasons in 3 countries. I just was at the one in Westlake Village. You know, wellness, meditation, yoga, spa type of, every stereotype you have of Southern California. That it was.
We want to harness your energy
Yeah, yeah.
and create
Yeah,
space.
yeah, a lot of that, a lot of that, a lot of that was in Taormina in Sicily. It was beautiful. San Domenico Palace. Shout out to my boy John Luca at Osteria,
And you told me
who,
about this meal.
dude, just wild. Like him talking with his hands about like, he's like, this is my nonna recipe. I eat this every day of my life. Like, and him just like getting a tear in his eye. We bought olive oil immediately, like I want that. And then was in Tamarindo in Mexico, which is like very quiet and remote and beautiful in a weird way, and you kind of have to follow me here. Has like some like Dune 2 architectural energy where like lots of like monolithic structures with like long hallways that are like carved into stone and like ambient
That's
lighting.
sick.
Yeah,
That is
I
sick.
definitely embarrassed my wife at one point in time because we're walking down this hallway and I was like, did the Dune 2 sound, but yeah, I mean, literally grew up very, very, very poor. Um, I have 6 stepfathers, right? Did not grow up in a in a good neighborhood on the eastern side of Kansas City, and now, going to Four Seasons. It's wild, and it's insurance for sure, but more specifically, it's this company, right? Like
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
it. As we said before, like there are some insurance agencies that are boring. Like there
yeah,
are some insurance
for sure.
agencies that do um do the bad things. But to Xander, to go back to what you're saying, like around like the advanced market stuff and the stuff that's shiny, that seems cool. What is actually cool and what is not boring is just protecting people. Like the value that I learned of having care for the average person. I was a snob. It was not something that I am proud of, but it was a big deal for me to go to a house and to walk into a house back when you used to have to walk into houses and like sit at a very humble coffee table with a welder and a part-time secretary for an elementary school and walk through their remaining $80 a month that they have on how they're going to protect their family. And one of the well, I at the same point in time am probably have less money than them, but still think I'm better than them for some, um I went to this house one time, and he's like, "Yeah, we have to meet at like 6 a.m." And I was like, "I have to take the meeting, right?" Because he's willing to take it, but I also just I backed myself into such a corner that like I need this appointment, and I drove for an hour to get to his house at 6 a.m. Pull up front yard doesn't even have grass, right? It's just one of those houses, just mud, um, and then like just like has like cinder blocks for steps. And I'm just like, okay. So I knock on the door and kids are sitting on the couch getting ready for the school bus to pull up and talk to him. And he's a boat mechanic and he wants this because he fell off a boat 2 weeks ago and hit his head and thought he was gonna die. Wife works at a factory disassembling chickens, just live butchering of chickens. And hurt her shoulder, so she can't work. And we got to about $40 a month is what they could afford. And so I managed to find something for both of them. And he was kind of a jerk the whole time.
Mm,
And I just remember being like, what is this dude's deal? And walking out, I get out, I'm on the cinder block front steps, and he like yanks the door open. I took the apps, yanks the door open and goes, "Hey, I need to talk to you." And I was like, please don't cancel, please don't cancel, please don't cancel. And he's like grabbing me by the arm, right? And he's like, and just like a single tear starts running down his face. He's like, thank you. And I was like, okay, like this is the lesson that I need to learn. I remember getting in the car, calling Kylie, and just like breaking down, sobbing, just like, I love you so much. I'm so sorry. And she's just like, she thought I like got in a car accident, right? And like wrecked her car or something like that. And it was just like, it's just, you get those moments where it's like, hey, bud, get over yourself, right? Like people have human value. And insurance did that for me. I will say that is very much a non-boring part of insurance. That's not just this company. That is insurance.
couldn't agree more, man. I've had my fair share of appointments like that that just remind me of the value of what we do. And I have a lot of moments too, man, that are frustrating that make me kind of question what I'm doing and be like, what the heck's going on? I wanted to ask you, like, in your journey here, being here a little over 8 years, like, have you had a quitting phase that you recall?
The most. Um, I will say,
And
I
it's
will.
always from something small too that happens, most likely, man. That it just catches you on a bad day.
I have so many. Some of them are really funny. Some of them are like, oh wow, like I would say any person at the top of the company has quit more times than you have. They've also started again more times than you have. Um, I Yeah, we never quit when things are going well, right? Like we never quit, and we forget to own our responsibility, our part when things aren't going well. Also, it's someone else's fault. But then when things are going well, it's all us, right? Xander, as you're going through this, journey of like, trying to qualify as agency owner, I'll tell you, like on your bad days, you're never as bad as you think you are. On your good days, I can't remember, you wrote 7,000 this week. You're never as good as you think you are. So just like you exist in this like this kind of liminal space in between. But yeah, man, I've absolutely quit 100%. I actually was talking with a person who hasn't given me permission to say this, so I won't say their name, but they're a big name in the company, and they're like, "Yeah, I almost quit last year," and I was like, "What?" This is a person that's making probably close to $1 million a year, and I was like, "Why?"
What
Well,
was the reason they gave you?
Yeah.
frustration, frustration, and then they kind of went to it, and they're just like, "But I also just wasn't doing my job," and I was like, "Cool," and I think that they got real comfortable and they kind of thought that they were cool, and there wasn't the downward pressure coming up, there wasn't the upward pressure coming down for them to do their job. They'd reached this place, and then when things started to get bad, it was like the job, not them. But yeah, I've almost quit so many times. My wife, who's so brilliant, well, if you quit, I would just call you and tell you you can't.
Not
Um,
gonna ever
yeah,
actually do
yeah,
it, and I would hope that somebody would
yeah,
call me
yeah. Just
and
be like, no, you're
grab me
not.
by the face
Yeah,
mask and be like, "What the hell's your problem?"
yeah, you're not doing that. Omar tried to quit once, and I told him no. I was just like,
Sorry, bud, you can't.
you're not quitting. And I literally said that. I was like, no, you don't get to quit. But yeah, so we used to have to drive to go see people face to face, and so I would stack a bunch of appointments in a period of time because inevitably you're going to get a no show, and I would try and like stay the night. Um, and so there was one time where I literally had 7 appointments scheduled on a day. Instantly, you guys are thinking you got no shut on all seven, right? Like that's what people think. No, I kept all seven. You know what's worse than getting no showed on seven? Keeping seven and not selling a thing.
Oh.
That sucks so much. My wife is staying at home with our daughters who are like 1, 1.5 at this point in time. I'm emotionally unstable at this point in time, not a mature young man, right? And I remember just being like, "This is bullshit. Fuck this," and like, I'm quitting, and she wasn't trying to be brilliant or wise. She's a very kind person, and she was just like, "Well, just whatever will make you proud of yourself, not what will make you happy. Whatever will make you proud of yourself, I support you." And that was like just the most surgical like insertion of a knife just right into my heart. And I don't know, maybe I'm like, kind of misremembering her brilliance, but I'm going to choose to remember it that way. So we were so broke that I knew that if you went into the underground parking garage of University of Arkansas Medical School at this point in time, the gates would be up and you wouldn't have to pay for parking because that's when everyone leaves. And so for the sake of just the inflow outflow, they just raise the gates. So I go in there, and it's a safe facility. I know where the showers are in the medical school, right? Like that you can go shower. So this is where I'm going to sleep. I stayed the night in there and literally just couldn't sleep. Like sleep in the
Mm.
back seat of my car, sunroof open. It's like August, right? I'm like, it's underground, so it's cooler, but it's still like warm, and just do whatever makes you proud. And so in my anger, immaturity, I had this like debating with myself, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just gonna keep the first appointment because it's already there, and it's on the way home. And most of them are kinda on the way home, like, they gradually, string back. I don't really have to go out of my way, so this is a 3-hour drive back. I'll just kinda, like, slowly work my way back. Went to the first one, made a sale. Cool. It'll be good to just, get some money out of this trip, and maybe we buy some time as I search for something else. Sold the second one, sold the third one, sold the fourth one. Ended up walking away that day with, like, my single biggest, like, premium. like producing day. I wrote like 9,000 on like 7 apps. And I could get a little woo woo, right? Like the universe just gave me the sign that I needed if I was willing to do the work and willing to be in a position of receivership to get what they were trying to say. And I think that is the biggest lesson I can tell people is like be in a position of receivership, because when you get these feelings of quitting, it's trying to tell you something. Can you receive what the message is, which is usually just like, hey man, just get better. Just chill out. Just practice your script. Just you're angry at your mom. Go talk to a therapist, right? It's a lot of like that type of stuff. Um, that the job gives us. And the first year of this job is particularly hard because it is just a mirror.
Yeah.
And we do not oftentimes like what we see in that first year. Some of us like to string that first year out into like four. But the sooner you can get through being okay with what you see in the mirror, the better. It is also um, not without noting that the higher up people go in the company, the better looking that they get. I don't know if
I've
you've
noticed that, bro.
I like you got to get Andrew on. AJ is one of my dogs. Like that is my boy. The year I hit agency owner, he got of the year. He hit second. He got second place. The next year, he got first place. I got second. Like he's been my running buddy forever. um, at our most recent conference, he had a screen share of his first year, and I was like, "That's what he looked like." I always thought he was like a 6'4", beautiful, Latino model. Apparently, he wasn't. So yeah, but I say like look in the mirror as a joke of like the actual physical appearance, but I'd say that a lot, like the majority of the people, that's inside coming out. That's
Yeah.
Mm.
self care. That is not money, right? That is like valuing yourself, taking care of your inside, and doing the like Meredith is much older than you think she is. And she has like perfect, glowy skin because she doesn't have stress processing the way that we do. She's very calm. She meditates. She's mindful, right? Like all the inflammation is like going because she's able to modulate. It's not that she doesn't have stress. I know how much money that they had in damages on their own personal property in the middle of this Hurricane Helene wiping away their town, literally washing away a building. Like when this happened and, like Swananoa was devastated, CNN was like in our parking lot filming, right? Like it was really, really bad. And the Ellisons had a ton of personal damage. And yet I am like, some people would have a stroke from this stress. And then Meredith is in, California, just, almost like Galadriel from Lord of the Rings, just kind of like just like floating into a room, right? Because she's so mindful of it. It doesn't mean she's not stressed. It just means that she's built up these skills to not have it break her when it arrives.
Hmm.
Yeah. I can't tell you. I, I I don't. I've had the same experience that you had. Maybe not driving. I came here after everything was virtual,
Back
but
in
that
my
exact
day, you
same.
kids these days.
But I had the same experience. I have a bunch of appointments. They'd all no show, or so it wouldn't work, shake out for whatever. And I'd be sitting there. I'd call Mark. I'm like, dude, I suck at this. Like, I wasn't meant to be a salesperson. Like everything in the book. And then the next day, almost like just pulling myself like you want to phone it in and you're like, well, it's already on the books. I might as well show up. And then all of a sudden it's like you can't do anything wrong. And you're like every time that roller coaster comes down, it comes right back up again. And I tell every agent that and they never believe me. So it's great that we have more proof of it and it's not just me that's happened to.
Oh,
Hmm.
I have I would say probably one of my first 10 hires. The amount of conversations that I would have with her on like a Thursday afternoon, and she'd be like, "This week's terrible. I have made no sales. blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "You're gonna go. You're gonna be open minded. You're gonna have to if you need to get to that meeting, 5 minutes early and get calm with yourself and vision the meeting going well, you're going to do it and it's going to go well. But you're not going to decide that it's not going to go well. You're going to decide that it's going to go well. Zero APV, strikeout, 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 strikeout. Friday, 5,500. Like she and I have had this conversation 30 times. And it's a constant reminder of like, hey, receive it, right? Like much as in like,
Yeah.
hey, receive my
Yeah.
love, receive my compliment, receive my sincerity, receive the opportunity that things are going to go well. Stop deciding
Mm.
it's not going to. It's not for you to decide that it's not going to go well.
We talk a lot about how what we do in this business is won and lost in the space between our ears, man. And what you're talking about, it's a mental game. And I literally couldn't count shitty weeks where the tide turns on Friday and was this close to throwing in the towel. Or back when we would drive to go run appointments, I would drive up to Delaware 4 hours one way in the BFE, freaking cornfields and Royal or what is it, Royal Farms gas stations, and that's
The
it.
chicken.
Yeah, and I'd have 8 appointments and 7 would no show, and I'd have one last one at 8:30 or 9 PM, pitch dark in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like, "Do I even show up or should I just go ahead and get home and try to get home before midnight?" And I would call Grant because he'd also be in Delaware. He'd be like, "You need to go run that." And of course, they show up and buy. And it's just one of those little like breadcrumbs that, like the universe you said, gives you as a reminder to stick with it. You know, it can be easy to get in your head and forget what's possible. And it goes back to what you focus on grows. If all you're focused on is the things that aren't going well, that's pretty much going to be what you get. And it could be the glass half empty or a glass half full mentality, man. I'm glad you spoke to that because I think there's a lot of people who, I mean, this could be an emotional roller coaster that you ride every day or every week or every month. And a lot of people will get off the ride when it's on the low end and then they miss the upswing. And
Yeah,
so,
it's easiest to get off the ride when it's down there because you go through this whole thing and then the roller coaster has to start like tick 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 like it's having to pull well it's going really slow at that point in time. It's easy to
Hmm.
just like undo your seatbelt and get off. It's hard to get off when it's going fast, but that's the part that is usually the enjoyable, right? It's scary, it's thrilling, but um it's just really important to understand that like backing yourself into that corner where you it's just you, right? Like they, the man in the arena speech, right? That type of thing. Like I ran um a long race that I probably was not prepared enough for like 10 days ago. I have like 3 toenails that are black right now. We're not going to show the audience because they need to pay for the premium subscription to see my feet. Um but yeah, my feet are like, purple right now. And the thing about this race that is so terrible, but what I liked about it is that they would give you an opportunity to peel off. Five, turn here for 5K, turn here for 10K, turn here for half marathon, turn here for marathon, turn here for 50K. And it's fun when you're running with everyone and the crowd's really like big and they're like, the house music is blaring and like, like people are throwing like, nerds ropes at you for, it's like all that stuff, right? It sucks when all of a sudden the whole crowd veers off for the half marathon turnaround and I didn't see someone for probably 10 minutes. It went
Mm.
from look at all these people, isn't this fun to I am by myself. And what we focus on grows. And I focused on my loneliness. And I was like, "Oh, wait, 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 wait." And I'm like, I'm already hurting a pretty decent amount at that point
Mm.
in time. And I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah. You know this, Chris. Like you know this. This is like we don't focus on this. What are we going to focus on?" And so, well, luckily was able to bring AirPods. So, we got music to buy us a little bit of a of a
You had
breathing
some
room.
Goggins playing, I know it.
Oh, I would have loved to. I had to keep that, like, on reserve. We can't,
Can't
say
use that too early.
no, can't that's like the final, like, 4 miles type situation, but, like, yeah, focusing on how miserable you are will just
Make you more miserable.
make you more
Surprise,
miserable.
surprise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, so, but yeah, I think that that is, that's a loyalty to yourself. That's an aspect of you choosing to do what it is that is like your specific like North Star. Some people don't have a North Star
Mhm,
yet. Some people go their whole life without that. But um, yeah, man, I'd tell a lot of people that the obligation that we have to ourselves, not the self-rationalized obligation, but like the deeper obligation that we have to ourselves, what we do with our talents, what we do with our potential. And potential is I can't remember the exact quote, but like potential is a four-letter word after age 30 or something like that. Um, but like if no one like commits to that, then it's dark. It it
mm,
it really is because we're cheating ourselves. And um that ultimate goal isn't fame, it isn't from fortune, it's like giving value to our lives, and ideally, if we're good people, using that as a conduit to give value to other people's lives.
hmm.
That's why
Well,
insurance
we
isn't boring.
amen to that. I've got a couple rapid fire questions I wanna throw at you before we land the plane, but, wanted to see if Xander had anything first.
So one of my big things is I hope nobody that I know too well sees this from, but I
Or maybe we
have
do.
I maybe we do. I've got a lot of friends who I have a ton of love in my heart for, and I understand that from the outside looking in, like this is a little bit nuts, right? Like again, we invest pretty heavily in to do our job every single week. It's all on you. We're talking about how many quitting phases, the ups and downs of it. But I have a lot of individuals who have huge hearts. They are not afraid of hard work. And for whatever reason, they seem to, I don't know if it's a limiting belief or what, they can't, they are where they are. And I feel like they know that there's more out there, but they don't know what the next step to take in that is. And you're very wise. You're very wise, and I'm just curious. Like, what do you say to someone like that? Like, hey, dude, just give it a shot. What's the worst thing that's gonna happen? Like Elijah and I both were in our 20s. The individuals I'm talking about are like, what do you have to lose? And I just know how grateful I am for everything this has done in my life. Like just being friends with Elijah alone, getting to meet cool individuals like this, feeling like I'm actually making an impact on the world, not having to think about money the way that I used to. And yeah, sure, there have been terrible days and weeks and even months where I was like, what am I doing? I have this computer science degree and I am out here selling insurance, but like, what am I doing? Um, but it all comes back, right? The roller coaster goes back up. And I can't find the right words or I've had a hard time finding the right words to express that to them of like, dude, you could do so much more. And I'm just curious what you would say to someone if I mean, I'm sure you probably have said stuff like this to people before, if individuals that are in that situation.
Yeah, I think a lot of things. I would say number one, are you speaking to them with the sincerity and conviction that you just spoke to me? Right? Not the facts of, okay, so you come in an 80% commission contract and the average policy is
Yeah.
$1,244.13. You're gonna make 80% of that, 75% of that's gonna, or are you just saying what you said to me?
Um, I have danced around the subject, to be honest. I don't like being super pushy, and a lot of them will say that they're, happy where they are, but I see their actions on a daily and a weekly basis, and I'm like, I was there, I wasn't happy. Maybe I hope you are, but like I wasn't happy when that was my life, and I think you might also just not know how good it could be, and I don't want to come off as condescending.
Yeah. I mean, this goes right back to the conversation that we were having before around like mendacity, right? Like in understanding that they have to be in a position to hear what you're saying, but you also have to be brave enough to say it. And so, you could just be like, you know, Tom, let's be honest, you hate your job. You're miserable. I can hear you getting fatter. You are like you're not happy. I have something that I can offer to you, and it's not necessarily as important around mechanically what we do. It's much more important when we talk about philosophically, abstractly what we do in the life that I live. And then you, Xander, your job is to just be the example. I might ruffle some feathers here as I say this, but I get so tired of saying people, oh, and they're leading from the front. Stop it. Just lead from the middle, lead by example, be the example that we can point to. We don't want, if I was to redraft knowing the things that I know, but start over again today, I would want to work with someone who just writes 5,000, 5 apps every single week, is emotionally consistent, is very happy, because that's so much more attractive. And so I think we almost like Delaney has a really good video here where he's like, it's an old one, but he's talking about how great SFG is, and he's like got it like a cocktail, and he pours it in the glass, and oh my god, it's so great. And the person's like, can I try some? And so he tries to like drink it and like spit it in their mouth, and instead, like he could have just poured it in their glass, and they could try it. And Sanders, some people just, some will, some won't, some so what is an answer, but like some people, I have these people in my life. My childhood best friend, um, he's just not. It is not for him. And he just he knows what I do. He knows, the life we have. He wants it. He's not willing to let go. And in the end, maybe he will in a decade. Maybe he never will, but I can't put like a price on that integrity that I have of like my own soul. And so like maintaining that integrity, it's got to be worth it. And sometimes that means like moral code, me eating my words and holding them back. And sometimes it's like stepping into that place of like confronting the difficult things. But I always want to come off as a decent human, right?
Hmm.
Like respect people and with honesty and decency. And so it's like I can't remember the exact story of who it was, but it was Ryan Holiday's book, Right Thing Right Now. Good book. They talk about this guy who was he was like the chief legal counsel for a train line when people used to, that was the primary mode of transportation. And he got terrible service. And his son was like, are you going to report them, Dad? And he's like, no. Why? "Eh, I would never do that." And his son's like, well, this guy's terrible. And he's like, no, we never cut down a working person who's just working to feed their family.
Hmm.
And I felt so seen by that because I've gotten terrible with service before, and I've absolutely want to be like, I want to talk to your manager, right? All of a sudden, I get a Bob, right, and like, like it's like rhinestones on my glasses, right? Like I become, that stereotypical boomer Karen. But like the the thing I heard was that is like, the decency is sometimes, yeah, like not saying the thing. Sometimes the decency is saying the thing, and you just have to trust yourself to do it. No, it's not going to be right. It's not a pass fail exam. It's not a math problem. It's not a true false examination. I got this from my therapist. She said this. She's like, Chris, just shut up. Stop. People are not math problems. People are sunsets. They're different every day. They're beautiful. They're messy. Sometimes you see them. Sometimes you don't. But it's not a math problem. And I am seeing a different therapist now. She was a little intense with how she talked to me sometimes, but that was a great piece of advice of like, it's not a math problem. So stop trying to make it one.
Yeah,
Hmm. I
that's
love
that's
it.
beautiful. Yeah,
I don't want to keep
thank
you
you.
too long, Chris. We've gone for over an hour now, and this has been phenomenal. I'll give
I
you a
know.
quick question
Yeah, bud.
because you're a fellow coffee lover.
Yeah,
What
dude.
is if you go into a third wave coffee shop,
Huh?
okay, that
Uh-huh.
they got a septum ring covered in sticker tattoos and wearing a Blink 182 t-shirt. You know what I'm talking about, like
Oh,
the
I
right
I
type of
I
I
coffee.
know, I know the place. I'm there
What
physically. Yeah.
what's your go-to coffee order, man?
Can I?
Probably depends on the day, but
It
yeah,
does. It does depend on. Can I shout out my?
please.
do
Okay.
it.
Please.
Shout out Arsagas, Arsagas, Fayetteville, Arkansas. Um, Arsagas over Onyx. I know that the judges think Onyx is the best coffee shop in the United States. I'm so spoiled that I have them here. I went to an Onyx just the other day. But yeah, Arsagas is my place. Um, uh, I am definitely a cold brew guy, because my tummy hurts sometimes if I drink real acidic coffee. Um, right now, crushing a Burundi, um, cold brew, with oat milk, Burundi single origin, notes of blueberries, really pleasant, really, really pleasant.
I
But
love it.
as far as like what I definitely lean into. I like a keep it simple. Give me a cortado. Again, oat milk, lactose intolerant gang. Um, uh, but yeah, that or and this is something that I could get a lot of in Sicily, which was really great. Man, I love an espresso spritz with some sparkling water. Um, that color ID that you were talking about when I call. Yeah, that was a cortado with spritz on the side. If you go to some Latin American countries, they'll get you the actual cane sugar Coca-Cola and they'll pour espresso into that over ice.
That's
Um,
phenomenal. I've
it
had
is
that.
it is so underrated, and people act like I'm a maniac. But the Coca-Cola, I don't put sugar in anything. I genuinely enjoy the bitter flavor, but the cane sugar in the coffee acts, to replace that sweetener. But yeah, I would probably say not a iced coffee, a cold brew,
There's
single
a big
origin
difference.
is a real big difference. Single origin or some sort of like fermented single origin cortado. I think I had one the other day that was an Ethiopian and it was the like the anaerobic single origin, like some of that like really, yeah, septum ring. Uh my favorite barista will never watch this, but shout out Kat. Um Kat is the most stereotypical third wave coffee shop barista where you can't tell if she hates you or if she has a crush on you, that type of situation. Has tattoos that she has given herself. And I bring it up because I was telling the office about this. She has a ruler on her arm that she tattooed on herself, and she's also an artist because, duh, obviously, she has to be. And she's like, "No, I use it all the time. Like I'm measuring things, and I don't have to carry a ruler around." So love third wave coffee shops. Love our Segas. Um, yeah, that's my place. Great
I
question.
love it. I love it. Dude, thanks for being on, Chris. This is awesome.
Yeah,
Couldn't be more
likewise.
honored. Thanks, boys. Y'all are the best. This is great.
Tune in next week. We'll see y'all. Peace.
See you
Bye bye.
guys.